Hey guys, welcome in to sportsbookreview.com. This is your Major League Baseball show for Wednesday, August 19th, 2020. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Jason Radowitz. Yesterday, look, hey, sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, but yesterday a clunker, which I couldn't believe, Jason, on the Oakland Athletics, a runaway winner for the Diamondbacks, but I had the team total, so I'm looking at that 5-0 early lead by the Diamondbacks and going, perfect. Not going to get a great bullpen, not going to have to face a closer. Oakland A's should be able to chip away. They did nothing. One run cost me. Come on now.
Yeah, that was pathetic. Really, really bad. But it's funny, though, because I had two plays, right? I had the Athletic game, which was a complete bust. Then I had the Twins with Kenta Maeda on the mound, had no hitter through 8 innings. Yeah. And you're like, all right, well, maybe my analysis was spot on. So it's a good feeling when you have a pitcher that's throwing a no-hitter through 8 innings and you're on that game. Definitely a memorable game for me. Obviously, the game a little shaky towards the end. Twins still out to win. Luckily, I had just first 5 innings, but a crazy game, a lot of fun, very weird, but always good to know that you're on that side of the no-hitter.
No, you're absolutely right. And yesterday, because we did have like a pick 5 and add a couple extra games. And on the original pick 5 yesterday, I went 3-1-1. For some reason, Houston you could just pencil in 2-1 games. And that even went to extra innings. That was a winner. San Diego and Texas, they go over the total of 8.5. Tampa Bay and New York for me barely stayed under the total 9. Philadelphia Phillies, I struggled with because I didn't want the 5.5. They got 11. The hell was I thinking in that game? Should have just went ahead and said, you know what? 5.5, it doesn't matter. But it's another day, a huge card out here. And Jason, by the way, game starting right now, Philadelphia Phillies, Boston Red Sox. Real quick, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, I'm on the Phillies first 5, minus 0.5. I got it at minus 110, but it definitely has shot up to like minus 130. Still, I completely agree with it. You have Kyle Hart on the mound for the Red Sox. He's a rookie at his first start of the season. Just a week ago against the Rays, let up 7 runs, 5 earned runs in 2 innings, also 3 walks in that game. I expect the Phillies to have a great weighted batting average against lefties to destroy against him. Jake Arrieta has been pretty solid this season, a 3.37 FIP. I do think he'll be able to perform at a solid rate, especially in the first 5 innings. JD Martinez is not in that lineup as well. I think he's like dehydrated or something, needs a day off or whatever. So yeah, this is great for Arrieta with that matchup without JD Martinez. Obviously, the Phillies, they slug lefties against Kyle Hart like that. So all over the Phillies first 5, minus 0.5.
Yeah, a little dehydration for JD Martinez. Get a Sam Adams in there up there in Boston. I mean, get the guy some hydration. But, guys, thank you for checking us out. 100 already watching, 1 minute into the show. Thanks for checking in the check button. How about this? Even before the show, Some Kind of Guy 100. He's up at 3 a.m. in the morning in Australia to get the great info. Extremely professional show. Thank you for gentlemen. And I think Jason and myself could say this. This isn't work for us, man. You guys come in the chat box and bring it every day. This is easy for us to come on, talk baseball, pick some winners, and share some information. That's what we do right here at sportsbookreview.com with the Major League Baseball show. 66,500 people have pushed that subscribe button. Please do it if you haven't done so yet. Turn on the notification bell, because when Jason and I go live each and every day, Monday through Friday, 1:30 p.m. on this show, you can get it delivered directly to your inbox. But if you miss anything, oh my God, Jason and Donnie, I missed the show. Where can I get the plays? Click the link below, sbrpicks.com/MLP. It has everything you need to be a more complete better right here in Major League Baseball. Big card today. Thanks again to the chat box for chiming in. Let's get started and get after it here. Game 1 on the card here. Let's see. Let me just bring up what I have. If my computer ever goes through. There we go. 9:55, 9:56. A 7:05 start tonight. Savali versus Brault, the lefty, on the mound for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Line, look, 7 out of every 10 tickets, Jason, looks like they're coming in on the road team here, the Cleveland Indians, and the line is reciprocating. Opens up at 163 at SBRodds.com. Now sits at 180s primarily across the board with a total of 9. In this game, what I'm looking at, same thing as before. You have a switch hitting lineup which can adapt to both lefties and righties. Brault struggling a little bit with his xFIP here. I'm going to lean on the Cleveland Indians team total over 5 in this game. Decent hitting conditions in Pittsburgh. Full 9 at bats. Give me Cleveland in this one for the team total, Jason. How about you?
Yeah, I have an official play on this one. We're looking at the Indians at minus 0.5 in the first 5. Again, this one is at minus 121. I'm starting to kind of go towards these F5s, minus 0.5s for the favorites. You know, with how the bullpens have really, performed recently. You look at that Twins game and you're like, how the heck did that happen? So just playing a little bit more safe now with these F5s. And because right now we're doing research and we just know what we're going to get in those first 5 innings. Don't know what you're going to get in the next 4 or beyond that. So Indians at minus 0.5 in the first 5. Savali, he has a 2.96 FIP on the season. He's a guy with the low walks, solid strikeouts, also has a solid ground ball rate, and has low enough for hard contact. He's allowed just 4 runs in his last start, but he has gone 6 innings in all 4 starts this season. He's starting to get a high amount of ground balls, 26 strikeouts, just 3 walks on the season. So he's performed pretty well with his FIP very low, like I had already said. Brault, on the other hand, he's a guy that walks plenty, also has a high Sierra. This is the guy that he's had 4 outings so far this season, 3 starts and a relief outing. He's only went 7 innings in 3 starts and 1 relief outing. That shows you how bad he's been with those walks, letting guys on base. He's been a little bit lucky. A 4.41 FIP probably should be greater. His xFIP is obviously higher at 5.54. So like I said, 6 walks, 6 strikeouts in those 7 innings, a lot of those 4 earned runs. And even if Brault comes out, getting that Pirates bullpen hasn't been great either. I do think the Indians will score a couple runs in this game. Again, like I talked about, Savali, a 2.96 FIP, 26 strikeouts, and 3 walks again. So I'm all over the Indians here. Savali over Brault or that Pirates bullpen. Doesn't matter to me. Indians should score a couple runs before the 5th inning ends.
Yeah, that's what I'm begging on here, because when you take a look at that lineup, or the expected lineup for the Cleveland Indians, Jason, all right-handed batters 1 through 9 to go up against Brault. Now, he has done very well this season against righties, but over his career, that's not really the tale, so you're expecting it to snap back. Also, going to need some help in this. The Indians are going to get going here. The bottom half of that lineup, 6, 7, 8, and 9, Luplow, Santana, Perez, and DeShields have not hit left-handed pitching all that well. Maybe they break out of the slump, because we talk about it a lot. It's still early in the season. When you take a look at this lineup, eventually they're going to be able to do some damage against lefties, and again, it's not Randy Johnson on the mound. It is Stephen Brault on the mound. I think you're in a good spot in this one. I think we get some runs, and I certainly think the Cleveland Indians prevail. 957, 958. Hey, the Mets. Look, they couldn't beat the Phillies, but they can certainly handle the Marlins, and they've been doing so. Jacob deGrom on the mound versus Lopez. 8 out of every 10 tickets coming in on the Mets. We know Jacob deGrom was scratched from his last start versus the Philadelphia Phillies, but now is going to reappear on the mound. 240 opens up offshore at Pinnacle here at SBRodds.com. That's now 219, but the prevailing number anywhere between 219, 220 to 230, depending on where you're shopping at, with an over-under of 7.5. This is one of those games that's interesting, because Lopez has been very good on the season. We know what deGrom brings to the table. It's a low total of 7.5, but is it one of those things where as soon as the Mets left Philadelphia, it looks like the bats have opened up down there? Do they stay open and get that team total 4.5? Or which way would you look in this game? Maybe a run line or a first 5-inning wager here on the New York Mets, Jason?
Well, Pablo Lopez, he pitched against the Mets earlier this season. He allowed 3 runs in 5 innings pitched. He still had 12 ground balls in that game to just 5 fly balls. So I wouldn't say he pitched poorly, but he did, again, allow 3 runs in 5 innings. But, we talked about Frankie Montes yesterday coming off, a really bad start after missing a couple, a start earlier in that window. He had like a 10-game off period for Montes. Well, now deGrom has that same type of deal. He hasn't pitched in, a little bit over, a week. So what do we say there? Will deGrom perform like he normally does, or is there concern there with him not pitching his normal start? That's why I'm not going to touch this game. Obviously, the Mets, I wouldn't touch it anyway with deGrom and Lopez on the mound. But I saw over 7 earlier in the morning. 7 is such a low number. The Mets can obviously hit that on their own, especially going up against the Marlins bullpen later in the game. And even if deGrom doesn't finish the game or go deep in the game, and he might not because he's, again, injured, so you just never know. I think the over 7 is a good play here.
No, I agree with you there. And also talking about like over 7s in general, when you break it down to its common formula, it's 3-3. If you get that, you had the extra innings, and all hell usually breaks loose now after 9 innings. So it's a pretty good shot to take a look at just from a situational standpoint. Also looking at deGrom, this is one of those games where we can't focus and say, well, is deGrom going to go 8 innings? Does he have a blister? Or what's really going to be the issue here? If you get a regular start or regular effort out of deGrom, and he just goes 6 innings in this one, the bullpen for the Mets is better than the bullpen for the Marlins. I would feel comfortable in this game going run line full game -1.5, because also if the game does go to extra innings now 4-4, you put the man on second base, you could very easily tack on 2 to 3 runs at the beginning of the inning and maybe hold the other team down. So I'm going to go run line. Some other opportunities open up this year when you have the extra DH in the National League and also the extra runs in extra innings. Those people who look to pound on those unders, it really plays out and hurts you, because if you go to extra innings, it's up in the air. I thought, like the game last night, which I had a joke about, was 0-0 with the Rockies and the Rangers. Well, they go to extra innings, or was it Houston? Houston goes to extra innings and 0. I'm saying to myself, watch them go like 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, 4-4, because it can match up like that and all of a sudden get you banged out. But hey, it's something to watch in Major League Baseball. Just interesting for this year as is. 959, 960, Washington and Atlanta, Fetty versus Wright. 50-50 ticket split in this game. Looks like a total opened up at 10. We're now seeing 10.5. I actually like the over in this game, but got a little bit persuaded away from going toward it because I do see the rain in the forecast. Wind is not blowing out. I still think it gets over the total in this game, but sometimes when I look, it's not the perfect ideal conditions to get 11 runs, but I do think both of these teams will score in this one here.
Yeah, so I'm thinking the same thing, but the funny thing that I came across when I'm researching this game, so Kyle Wright, he's a guy with a 7.2 ERA, a 6.45 FIP, but the funny thing is he hasn't allowed a single run against the start of the order. So 1 through 9 in the first round of the order, he's allowed no runs. In the second and third time against orders, that's where he's just exploded. So if you look at the over in this game and the conditions are okay, and Fetty, he's been very lucky throughout this entire season. So let's say he's able to get a couple scoreless innings to start the game. That over might go to 9.5, 8.5. That's when you want to hit the over in this game after maybe 2-3 scoreless innings, and then just go straight and hit the over on these two pitchers. Again, Fetty, he's got a 2.55 ERA, but a 5.55 FIP. He's been very lucky this season with getting some outs. And then also, right, like I said, he's a guy that struggled against the second and third time against the order, not the first time. So you can take advantage of that if that plays out how it's supposed to play. You watch that and you see it, and maybe take the over 8.5, over 9.5 after 2-3 innings.
Yeah, no, the circle play I have on this one as a lean is the Nats team total in the first 5 innings over 2.5. Figuring they can pick up, 2 runs, keeps you in at 3, obviously gets you over the total. But if we do get some decent weather conditions and the rain does hold off, I think we can get some runs. Just going live here to some game information. The Blue Jays and the Orioles in the bottom of the second inning. 2 men on, nobody out for the Orioles. And then flip it over to the Phillies game. Bryce Harper's up, nobody out in the first inning, and 2 men on. So might be able to get some runs early here in that Philadelphia Phillies game. And checking out the chat box, we had somebody checking in from Australia. Raymond Reddington, all the love from Norway. Donnie and Jason. That is tremendous today. Damn, our boys are running late today. Who's running late? We're not running late today. Come on now. We're good. All up and down, up and down. Here we go. Let's go. 965, 966, Milwaukee and Minnesota. Anderson and Hill. Lefties on both sides here with Anderson and Hill. 8 out of every 10 tickets here coming in on the hometown Minnesota Twins in this ball game. If we look, it opened up at 170, Jason offshore. Now we're hovering in that 150s range. Pinnacle 158, Chris 155. 5 dimes at 150 with a total that opened up at 9.5 and ranging, depending where you're shopping at, want to pay for it, can get anywhere between 9.5 to 9. And actually, where I'm going to go in this game, I love when I see cheap totals. And when I take a look at the lineups that are out, you can flip around and get from the right-hand side for the Milwaukee Brewers in this game. And I'm going to go with a team total here, Jason, on the Milwaukee Brewers going over. Now, look, Rich Hill's xFIP on the season, it's a little bit high, hovering around 5, but he has done a pretty good job against both lefties and righties. But finally, that Milwaukee Brewers team is starting to show life against lefties. I have a lot of plus bats in the lineup and a lot of right-handers. I'm going to take that cheap number. I think Milwaukee can get to 4. I'm going to go with that today on this game.
Yeah, that's fair. See, this is a tough game for me, like Brett Anderson. If you look at his ground ball rate, it's nearly 70% on the season, which is really impressive. But then again, a 5.76 FIP and ERA of 4.91. Rich Hill, just 1 game started this season, went 5 innings, 2.92 FIP. But like you said, his xFIP is a lot greater at a nearly 5. Tough game for me. Like I said, the Brewers, they've lost every single game that Anderson's pitched in so far this season. And that might stop there. I think the Brewers have some momentum coming into this game. They came back against they can't really do any worse versus when they faced Maeda against Hill. I do think that the Brewers have some offense in this game against the Twins. I'm not really sure what to expect out of Hill. That's the biggest thing with just 1 game started. But if anything, I do think the Brewers will definitely perform a lot better than they performed last night, especially in the first 8 innings.
Scott Situte says, what are some locks today? Just wait and hold on about 35 minutes. We are going to let it rip out here. We're just trying to cover as many games as possible over the next 30 to 35 minutes. Philly Sports Passion 85. Sorry I'm late. Was watching the NBA show. Rockies money line. Hey, look, as long as you're watching SBR, you're watching with the family. It doesn't matter if you eat at your mom's house, your dad's house, your uncle's house. As long as you're with the family, we trust you in there. So do thank you for supporting these channels here. Let's also get after the next game here, and the one where I got bludgeoned And maybe I'm going to go back on the opposite team in this game here, 975, 976. Arizona with Kelly on the mound, Merrill Kelly on the mound versus Oakland, and Luzardo, the lefty. 7 out of every 10 tickets here early, Jason, coming in on the home team. The Oakland Athletics opened up at 164, but dipping down a little bit. Chris Offshore, 153, 5 dimes at 155, and a number of 8.5 as the total across the board. I'm going to flip the script and go, you know what? Oakland let me down yesterday. I saw the bats come alive for Arizona. Now, we are switching venues, going from the desert down in Arizona up to Oakland, but I do like the fact that you're getting a lefty on the mound for Oakland. You're going to stack the box with right-handed hitters for Arizona. And anytime I see these 3.5s, even though you got to pay a little bit of juice for -130, -135, I'm going to lean that way. I'm going team total Arizona 3.5 today as a play on this game. What are we looking at here, Jason?
I'm with you there. I had even the Diamondbacks as a lean at +140. I think there's value there with Merrill Kelly on the mound. I think we saw him, pitch against the Padres. His last 2 starts, he's looked really good, getting high amount of strikeouts. Just has great command, going deeper in games. I've been impressed with what I've seen out of Kelly. Not so much out of Luzardo. He's going to be a phenom. I think we know how great Luzardo is, but he allowed 6 runs on 9 hits to the Giants in his last start. Maybe he bounces back. We have small sample size on Luzardo, to be fair. Does have a high K rate, but I think Kelly's a better pitcher right now, a 3.77 FIP, a 1.71 ERA. I think Kelly has the better edge here. Maybe D-backs first 5, like you said, maybe on the over 3.5. I think Luzardo allowed 6 runs in his last game, so that seems like a good play. The Diamondbacks, their offense has looked really good as of late.
No, I agree with you there. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on. Again, day baseball going on, the NHL playoffs throughout the day, the NBA playoffs throughout the day. SBR is the place to be all through playoff season and getting right back into football, because I got to say, I got an NFL show a little bit later today going live on the networks. There's no better place to be than sportsbookreview.com now. And Gabriel Katz says, can we trust Luzardo in this game? I don't think so. And Dan Meyer says it best. Frankie Montes is dead to me. Yeah, well, if he does hurt your bankroll, you do get some anger back on that. 979, 980. The Angels and the San Francisco Giants. Sandoval on the mound versus Cueto. 6 out of every 10 tickets, you're actually coming in and backing the San Francisco Giants in this one, and they are a dog. But how about this? Pinnacle opened up roughly a pick 'em in that 110, 115 range. Now we're seeing 130s, even as high as 145 here in New Jersey with an over-under of 9. If you saw the game yesterday, it really shocked me that the Angels weren't able to really do much damage against Trevor Cahill and the San Francisco Giants starter as he was, and also the bullpen. You saw late in the game throwing at Mike Trout's head. We'll see if that has any implications today as we go. But this is one that I look at and say, all right, it's time to get right. I don't trust Johnny Cueto. We're going to get a decent day, because when I don't want to take games out in San Francisco, when the weather's like 60 degrees and not really much wind, you get that heavy marine layer. That shouldn't be the case. We should be in the 70s by the time first pitch starts out there with a wind blowing out the center field. I think I get some runs here from the Angels in this one with a full 9 at bats. I'm going team total over 4.5 here on the Los Angeles Angels, Jason.
Yeah, and that Angels lineup, especially in the middle of the order, has been destroying as of late. I like the Angels here too at -136. I'd even look at over 9, like you had already said. So yeah, the Angels, over their team total is definitely a play as well. Cueto, he's starting to stretch out his innings, but again, he's allowed multiple runs per game this season. That Angels offense, like I said, is really good, especially in the middle of the lineup. They can do damage against any team, any pitcher, any time. Cueto, lefties are hitting him with a 216 average, but he's allowed 3 home runs to the right side. So very interesting, stats from Cueto, but can't really trust him at all. Sandoval been pretty solid for the Angels. I think he's a good young pitcher who has some potential. He's gone 6 innings in his last 2 starts. He's allowed 6 runs, 2 home runs, 9 strikeouts, and 3 walks in those 2 games. Struggling versus righties, but he is dominating lefties, although he's allowed 2 home runs to the left side this season. So, I think the Angels have the edge here for sure. Both guys have about the same FIP at around 4.7, but I think Sandoval has just a little bit more, more strikeouts, less walks, just a better overall pitcher.
Got some really good names in the chat box today, Jason. We have Bold Ruler, Dizzy Rothstein, and Liam Pumpernickel out here today. And just to give you an update on the scoreboard, the Phillies have struck already. Bases loaded, 1 out. They're already up 1-0. Didi Gregorius at the plate. So we'll see if we can continue that chain around the bases like Bugs Bunny. Everybody just has that little march around, bases loaded. Yep, just keep on you just keep on moving it around. You have some fun. You get some runs in this one. Let's open it up here since we're through our pick 5, pick 6 of games. Let's go to the Bronx here. 951, 952. Pretty good matchup here. Tampa Bay and the Yankees. Glasnow versus Cole. And it's one of those things that I look at, Jason, when I take a look at the Yankees and Cole's on the mound. It seems like he hasn't lost in like 5 years. And you see a price at minus 200. It opens up and it drops. We're seeing 180s, 184, even 5 times a 172 with a total of 8.5. Yesterday, I think we got good reason of why the actual swing on the odds over to Tampa Bay. Snell was good. Their bats came alive and picked up a winner 6-3. But is this one we say, all right, yesterday you had your ace on the mound for Tampa Bay. Now the Yankees go with their ace. It's under $2. Do you let it roll, or maybe those lineup injuries for the Yankees catching up to them here?
Yeah, Garrett Cole hasn't lost a game with the Yankees yet this season. Glasnow hasn't looked great. His strikeout numbers are higher, but yeah, it hasn't looked great. He allowed 9 earned runs in his last 6.2 innings pitched. Has an OBA of 270 with righties hitting 281. Cole, a guy with a low Sierra, very high strikeout rate, low walk rate, allowed just 1 run on 4 hits in 7 innings versus the Red Sox. 8 strikeouts and 0 walks in that game. I think Cole is starting to figure it out a little bit and starting to pitch really well now and get into his zone. And with that said, Glasnow is pitching pretty poor right now. Cole pitching really well right now. Yankees at home versus the Rays. I know the Rays have given the Yankees a little bit of trouble this season, but the Yankees at home with Cole on the mound under minus 200 seems like a solid parlay piece for the Yankees. I'd even look at over 8, but more the over on the team total for the Yankees. I do think that they'll hit against Glasnow.
And it looks like great. I'm just, as you guys see me, like, peeking over one of the monitors here. It looks like there's a play at the plate that might be under review. Yeah, I saw the quick ID right there. I'm like, yeah, get on the review, get that next run in. Let's go Philadelphia Phillies. So we'll see. And look, this is great because you have a Mets fan over here that is cheering for Philadelphia Phillies runs. Look, it's about the green. It's not about the red of the Phillies, not about the blue of the Mets. It's about the green of the wallet. So it's good that we have these same cheering things. Now, look, we usually don't go over double headers here on the show. Value where you can't take first fives and team totals aren't really out there. But this is an interesting one. The reason why I want to bring it up here is the Dark Knights coming back to the mound. Obviously not for the Mets. 963, 964, Bauer versus Harvey. And again, we have a doubleheader game. Opens up at 143, but it comes down a little bit. Actually, you know what? I'm getting some interesting 143, 145, 150. I'm getting a Chris odds of minus 196, which obviously isn't correct. But Bauer is the better pitcher. Harvey's coming back. Does he have anything left in the tank? Or is this like, hey, it's a doubleheader? Bring somebody up who's at least pitching Major League Baseball before so we can get through this here.
Yeah, I mean, this is game 2. It's Bauer versus Harvey. You got Bauer, who's probably right now would be considered the NL Cy Young, against Matt Harvey, who had a 6.35 FIP last season. It kills me. It pains me to say this, but yeah, Matt Harvey seems like he's done. The over-under is 6.5. It is a 7-inning game, but it just seems like the Reds are going to score a ton against Harvey in this one. I'm rooting for Harvey to succeed. I want to see him pitch well. I just don't see it. I'm sorry. I love Matt Harvey. Let's see. They called him safe on the Phillies game, so we got 2 runs there. But yeah, I see some runs in Harvey too. I don't know if Harvey's going to be like Hart, but I do think Harvey's going to be like Harvey of last season. So, yeah, we're going to look at maybe over 6.5 in that game. Remember, it is a 7-inning game. That's why it's 6.5. Yeah. But, yeah, I think Reds can probably just score their team total. Maybe just worry about their team total instead of worrying about the Royals scoring against Bauer.
Yeah, a lot of doubleheaders each and every day, man. This is a stacked card to certainly go over and take a look at. Here's one game that I want to bring up because I think it's interesting and it can provide some analysis on what we actually look at when we cap games. And you take a look at this one, 967, 968, Detroit and Chicago, 2 young pitchers on the mound, Mize versus Dunning. You see the line opens up at minus 156 as a favorite for Dunning and the White Sox, 149, 150s out in a total of 9. Because I know myself, it's great that we have numbers because just a couple years ago, we really weren't able to track minor league pitchers, get their xFIPs and, how they handle batters. You can get a good idea, but we're talking about a leap from AA to Major League Baseball and how long their pitch counts might be. I usually take these off the board if it's 2 young guys because I can't get a feel. But do you have a lean on these games saying, you know what, if they're young phenoms, they're strikeout guys, maybe I'll take a look at a first 5 under where they can fool a couple batters for a few innings before they get a second read? Or do you just take these games off the board? What's an analysis of going after a game with 2 young pitchers, basically new to Major League Baseball?
Yeah, this is an automatic off the board for me. But, I mean, looking at the Tigers at plus 145 with Casey Mize on the mound, the former first pick, for the Tigers, I mean, how do you not look at that and say, there's value there? I would say Dunning has pitched better both these guys are coming from Double-A, right? I would say Dunning has pitched better in the minor leagues compared to Casey Mize. But, I mean, both these guys are phenom pitchers who were both first-round picks in the MLB draft, of course. I'm pumped to watch this game. I don't have a pick on the game. If I had to make a pick, it'd be Tigers at plus 145. I think, you're looking at these pitchers, they're both pretty similar. Both making their debuts, both, studs coming into the league. So Tigers at plus 145, there's value there for sure. But, yeah, I would say Dunning's probably just slightly the better pitcher. I don't know. It's a fun game. I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm usually take it off the board, see what happens. Because the last thing when I was like, hey, I think Donnie's going to have a great outing, and then he gets lit up. Because they had another young kid on the mound last night, I believe, for Detroit, who got lit up right away. You just don't know how these kids are going to react. Same thing with the Phillies with Spencer Howard. He comes up, and it's like, hey, we can't wait for his, debut. And there you go, 4 innings, 4 runs. It's like, oh, boy, I waited around for that. So you never know how these guys will actually transfer over. How about this game? 971, 972. Houston and Colorado. In Colorado this time. And obviously you get the thin altitude, or you get the high altitude, the thin air. You're going to get a heat wave, 90 degrees at first pitch. And anytime that happens at Coors, you got to watch out. But then again, this is the crux of the argument for me. I watch Houston. Something is wrong. I guess maybe they need somebody to bang on some trash cans to get base hits, because every game is 2-1. And now I look at this about 12.5. This team scores 2 runs and it's 12.5. And these 2 pitchers coming into the game, not the greatest pitchers, but it's not like they're 2 tomato cans getting lit up. It just seems exorbitantly high. Or is just the Coors effect saying, yo, they can get 14 tonight, Jason?
Yeah, this is the Coors effect, but on the line, not in the game. You have Framber Valdez. He's getting 57.1 ground ball percentage. You have Castellani, obviously a very small sample size of his rookie season, but he's getting 50% ground balls on the season. Both these guys are striking out a solid amount of players. Castellani, 10.3 per 9 innings. Valdez, 9.1 per 9 innings on the strikeout. So these guys are guys that can strike out batters. They can get ground balls. So I don't know if I'm too worried about this game being in Coors Field. I think this game goes under in the first 5 innings. I didn't make a play on it. I wanted to. I'm just concerned. I'm always concerned about taking unders in Coors Field. But the under in the first 5 really caught my attention. I think both these pitchers have been really good at getting ground balls, leaving guys on base, getting strikeouts. And I don't really think there's going to be too many runs early in this game. So for me, I like under first 5. Maybe it's the play later. Maybe it's not. I'm still looking at it. I want to take it, but it's just so hard to take an under in Coors Field.
No, you're exactly correct here. And I want to say, I was right. Look at that, 2-1 in the 8th inning in Coors. But we can easily say, oh, look, Houston finally waited to get out, and they had 4 runs after 2 innings. It happens at Coors. That's why it's always tough for me. Usually I'm looking for those team totals where I can get that 4.5 or no higher than 5.5. But this one is really interesting because I've been banging on Houston and figuring out, what the heck is actually going on? Maybe they bust out here in Colorado. Let's go over 2 more games here. 973, 974, Texas and San Diego, flipping back again. I don't know why Major League Baseball is doing this with the travel, going 2 games here, 2 games there, but it is what it is. Lynn versus Paddock. Paddock not as dominant on the early season as I would hope. Lance Lynn has been pretty good here. Both xFIPs around the same, but this is one of those games I look at. This Padres lineup is hammering day in and day out, but now you switch over to a pitcher's ballpark. You get a better pitcher of pedigree, at least over the last year and a half with Lance Lynn. Do the Padres able to come through here? Is that price just a little bit too high on the Padres for you, Jason?
Look, I think we might just be slightly overhyping Paddock just a little bit. This guy's struggling, man, and we keep going back and saying, he's the phenom. He's going to be great. Yeah. He's got a 4.91 ERA, 5.54 FIP, and the home runs, he's allowing 2.5 per 9 innings, which is just ridiculously bad, especially for a star phenom pitcher. And it looks like Danielson Lamet is taking that 8th tag with him in San Diego. But Lance Lynn coming off a complete game in Colorado looked incredible in that game in Colorado, like I said. So Lynn has a 2.81 FIP, Paddock a 5.54 FIP. Lynn's the better pitcher. The Padres are the better hitting team, but I think the Rangers, they do have enough power to maybe hit a home run or 2 against Paddock with maybe Gallo. Frazier could be in that lineup. Whatever the Rangers throw out there, they can hit a couple homers in this game for sure. Rangers plus 106, plus 110. There's value on the Rangers there against Paddock. I think we're overhyping Paddock just a little bit right now.
Yeah, opened up at 7, now 8's across the board at most outlets here. We'll see how that plays out. One last game we'll hit quickly before we get to our best bets and bankers. 977, 978, the Dodgers and the Seattle Mariners. How about this finally slowing a day? Dodgers pick up the win, which again, all said, that's what you want. But obviously, if you played the run line with a heavy favorite, or if you were looking at that team total that they hit, only 2 runs last night with that, lefty on the mound, just nibbling at the plate. They weren't patient in the game. Now you get Taijuan Walker on the mound. You switch up to Seattle. Is this a game where you say, look, Dodgers got held down with 2 runs yesterday. It ain't going to happen again, specifically against Taijuan Walker, because when you look at the totals in this game, it's 9 across the board and a monster favorite for Urias, the lefty, at minus 220. Run line game here on the road for the Dodgers. It's like, hey, you know what? Seattle hung around there. They're showing some fight in the series. I don't know if I want to lay that big price on this game.
Yeah, Taijuan Walker has been really, really, really hard to figure out this season, coming off a really good start. I think he got 6 hits in 6 innings with just 1 run. None were earned, 5 strikeouts and 1 walk. Like I said, really tough guy to read. He's a guy that's letting lefties hit 300 on the season. Obviously, going up against the Dodgers team that has plenty of lefties that have plenty of power. Also, he's the guy that's going to walk plenty of batters as well. This season, just 3.15 walks per 9 innings. But if you look at the bigger picture, he's a guy that's going to walk a solid amount of batters. Urias, he's a guy that's been pitching really well throughout the entire season. So I've liked him. I've liked watching him pitch throughout the entire season. I think the only play here is Dodgers over on their team total. I think they're going to come back and they destroy. You want to look at that as the Dodgers as a parlay piece. Maybe put the Dodgers with the Yankees and call that a parlay. Have some fun there. But if you're looking for just a single bet, Dodgers over their team total would be the only play for this one.
30-minute sprint through the show. Only games we didn't cover mostly are the double headers, but we hit every game that we wanted to hit with the 5-pack and more. And now we are ready to deliver our best bets and bankers. I'm looking to bounce back. Kind of nice little 3-game mini streak here that got abruptly ended yesterday with the Oakland Athletics. I'm going to stick with a team in California in this one, in a game in California, but I'm not going to Oakland here. I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Angels team total over 4.5, minus 130 at 5 dimes. I'm going to stay with that. And the reason I like this game is, look, Johnny Cueto's been there, done that before. He can only do his, quick step and his little hitch pitch so many times because it's catching up to him again this year. 5.6 xFIP on the season, not striking out a lot of batters, walking 10% or more of the people that he's facing. And when you take a look at the lineup that's doing damage against right-handed pitchers, La Stella, 250 ISO, Trout, 358, Rendon, 295, Ohtani, 255, even Albert Pujols, still a 200 ISO, and Goodwin, a 271. I think they'll do some damage. I'm going to get 9 full at-bats in this one. Give me 5 runs, Jason. Give me my banker, the Angels team total over 4.5. Take it away.
Yeah, so right now we have a Phillies game going on, so I know people are going to be kind of disappointed that there's not too many games for me later today, but I did give you guys the Phillies earlier on the show, and that is still a play for me right now happening. My other play will be the Indians minus 0.5 from the first 5 at minus 121 versus the Pirates. We can call that the banker. The Phillies were also a banker, both bankers. But I do have one more play that I'm still thinking about. There's 2 plays really, but you're looking at potentially the Nationals on the team total. But I'm looking at 3.5. I'm hoping that the Nationals don't score in the first 2 innings. Does damage against them like he normally does against the first time in the order. And then going live, taking that Nationals over 3.5 and around that 3rd, 4th inning. I will tweet it out, but you guys be prepared for that if it happens. I will definitely hit on that. I'm not really a live bettor, but it just seems too obvious at that point if Wright is able to get through the first 2 innings with no runs.
There you go. Look, got you good. We value the time. I say it every day. We value your time. 30 minutes, got the whole card, got picks out there. And again, when this show ends, it doesn't mean the information stops. Always check out sprpicks.com/MLB. You can't click it over my head, but you can click it just below the screen and hit the subscribe button as well. Over 66,000 people have done that. This is a Wednesday. And again, we'll be back on a Thursday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern time to break down tomorrow's Major League Baseball card. For Jason Radowitz, I'm Donnie Seymour. This is sportsbookraview.com. And this was your Major League Baseball show.